On February 28, 2007, 5 children were discovered murdered, their throats slashed with a knife. The perpetrator? Shockingly, their mother, Genevieve Lhermitte, who attempted to take her own life as well but was unsuccessful in doing so. Meanwhile, the children's father was away visiting his family. This case left many questions on the investigators' minds, and many wondered why a woman who had been a wonderful and exemplary mother up until then could suddenly engage in such atrocious deeds, and to make it worse, against her own children. Genevieve was brought in for questioning, eventually disclosing what led her to making this evil decision. This is the disturbing case of Genevieve Lhermitte. Born on November 16, 1966 in Brussels, Genevieve Lhermitte was the daughter of Michel Lhermitte, a businessman and student, and Marina Chauvert, a nurse. Lhermitte had 2 younger sisters, Catherine, who was born in 1969, and Mireille, born in 1972. Despite facing challenges with coursework and self-esteem in her secondary education, she managed to graduate in 1991 with a French and History diploma from the Educational Institute of Social Promotion of the French Community, or IEPSCF, in Uccle. During the academic year of 1988-1989 at IEPSCF, Lhermitte crossed paths with her future husband, Bouchaib Mokadem, who studied mathematics and physics, but he never went on to complete his studies. On September 22, 1990, Genevieve and Bouchaib tied the knot and took up residence in the apartment of Dr. Michel Char, a physician with whom Bouchaib was living. Char had developed a friendship with his family in Morocco during the 1980s and had been a host for the young man in Belgium. They were so close that Bouchaib Mokadem regarded Michel as a second father. While Mokadem worked at a convenience store, Char played the crucial role of being the primary financial provider in the household. They lived together, and anything they needed, he catered for. Genevieve had no objections to initially living in Char's apartment, assuming it would be a temporary arrangement before finding a place of their own. In 1991, Genevieve Lhermitte secured a teaching position and, shortly after embarking on her new career, they welcomed their first child, Yasmin, into the world on August 13, 1992. Following the birth of Yasmin, Char acquired a house for the family, converting his apartment into a dedicated place for his practice. 3 years later, on February 13, 1995, she gave birth to her second child, Nora. Experiencing postpartum depression, Lhermitte took a leave from her teaching role from June 1, 1995 to August 31, 1996. In 1996, Mokadem joined Char part-time as a filing assistant, later transitioning to full-time in 1998. Throughout this period, Char continued to cover various expenses, such as home repairs, monthly allowances, and even vacations, and life insurance for each family member. Genevieve gave birth to 2 more daughters, Miriam on April 20, 1997, and Mina on May 20, 1999, before the family relocated from Brussels to the provincial town of Nivelles. Char handled the mortgage and resided on the 2nd floor. Later on, the only son and the 5th and final child that they had, Mehdi, was born on August 9, 2003. Tensions heightened within the Lhermitte household, as her husband, Mokadem, increasingly spent extended hours away from home, frequenting a local bar and spa. Moreover, he embarked on numerous annual trips to Marrakesh and Morocco to visit his family, spanning from a week to a month, leaving Lhermitte to grapple with the strain on their relationship. For reasons that remain unclear, perhaps due to the mounting challenges in the relationship, the following year, Dr. Char suggested that Lhermitte seek professional help. Subsequently, in 2005, she initiated consultations with a psychiatrist named Dr. Diederik Veldekens. It seemed as though she was now going in the right direction, but in the end, it was clear that she needed more than that. On the 28th of February 2007, Bouchaib was set to return from his vacation in Morocco, where he visited his family. Amidst the routine of fetching her children from school and preparing lunch, Genevieve orchestrated a peculiar series of actions. She mailed 2 letters, one to her sisters that contained jewelry, and the other to her friend Valerie. In the letter sent to Valerie, she called Dr. Char a rotten bastard who had allegedly stole her intimacy with both her husband and children. She expressed frustration at her husband's purported deafness and blindness to her concerns about Dr. Shar. With the letters sent, Genevieve then made an unsettling stop at the supermarket where she bought 2 knives, foreshadowing the ominous turn of events. According to her testimony, she then hid the knives in a drawer and summoned her youngest daughter, Mina, while the rest were busy watching Spy Kids 3. Initially attempting to strangle Mina, Genevieve resorted to using one of the knives when the child resisted, all the while offering reassurances and apologizing to her as her life was slowly taken away. The next victim was Mehdi, their only son. Unable to subdue him through choking, Genevieve proceeded to slash his neck as well and meticulously rinsed the knife in the sink. She then informed her daughter Miriam of a surprise awaiting her in the office. Upon Miriam's arrival, Genevieve directed her to sit and cover her eyes with a blue handkerchief. With Miriam seated, Lhermitte took a marble plaque that was nearby, striking it against Miriam's head before cutting her throat. Nora, who was said to be Shar's favorite goddaughter, was beckoned to sit in a chair as well, while Genevieve, from behind, inflicted a fatal slash to her throat. Following Nora's demise, Genevieve inscribed the letters J-U-D on the bathroom mirror, using Nora's blood, later revealing her intention to spell the name Judas deliberately to inflict emotional harm on Shar. Genevieve's final target became her eldest daughter, Yasmin. Conveying a surprise similar to what she had orchestrated for Miriam, Genevieve summoned Yasmin. Attacking from behind as Yasmin entered the office, Genevieve's initial strike was evaded as Yasmin swiftly dove to the ground. In a harrowing struggle that ensued, Yasmin sustained numerous stab wounds before Genevieve ultimately thrust the knife into her back and slit her throat. Faced with the grim reality of her children's demise, Genevieve then sought her own end by falling onto her knife. Realizing the non-fatal nature of her self-inflicted wound, she urgently scrawled, "Call the police" in red marker on the door, and immediately dialed emergency services. Investigators arrived and discovered the lifeless bodies of the 5 children, who were tucked in their beds, some cradling stuffed toys. Genevieve confessed and told them she had committed the murders. Genevieve Lhermitte faced trial in the Walloon-Brabant Assize Court in Nivelles that began on December 8, 2008, and concluded on December 19th. Her lawyers were Daniel Spreutels and Xavier Magnet. The jury, comprising 8 women and 4 men, listened to opening statements from the prosecutor, vividly describing the haunting scene encountered by emergency services on February 28, 2007, at the former teacher's residence in Nivelles. The prosecutor advocated for a 30-year prison sentence. While Genevieve acknowledged the act of killing her children during the trial, the proceedings primarily delved into unraveling the motivations behind her actions. The jury was tasked with understanding why a woman, previously regarded as an exemplary mother, reached a point of explosive violence. Her early admission during the trial, as previously stated, had raised many questions into the motivations behind Genevieve's tragic act of killing her own children. Genevieve attributed her actions to the presence of Dr. Shar, the middle-aged Belgian doctor who lived with the family, which she claimed significantly impacted her roles as a wife and mother. According to her, Shar had accompanied her and Mokadem on their honeymoon, and even shared their room with him. She expressed discomfort, stating, "We had to wait until he fell asleep before we could make love. I found that weird, but Bushaib said he regarded him as his stepfather. I think the doctor loved my husband in a platonic way." Genevieve elaborated on how Shar intruded into her marriage and became indispensable to her family. "He watched TV with us and traveled with us. Financially, we needed him." As the trial concluded, Genevieve Lhermitte received the maximum sentence for the murder of her 5 children. The judge and jury showed no leniency, overlooking any mitigating factors. Genevieve expressed remorse, stating her willingness to accept whatever punishment the court deemed appropriate. Despite psychiatrists asserting that Genevieve was not mentally sound when she committed the offenses and should be deemed not guilty, the jury held a contrary view. While professionals recommended placement in a psychiatric hospital instead of prison, the jury rejected this suggestion. Lhermitte had a history of seeking psychiatric help, indicating significant mental health concerns. Struggling with prolonged depression, she ultimately reached the distressing belief that ending her children's lives and her own was the only means of escape. Before her trial, Genevieve successfully obtained a divorce, with Mokaddam initially challenging but eventually withdrawing his appeal. Unable to cover the trial expenses, Genevieve's ex-husband was required to pay the bill. As per Belgian law, a portion of the proceeds from the sale of the marital home was allocated to the government. The overall expense, encompassing legal fees and penalties, tallied up to approximately $93,000 or €72,743 at the time. Bouchaib was enraged and disgusted by the perceived inequity of the billing system. His lawyer sought to have the charges waived, stating that administrative requirements should be balanced by decency in the face of such tragedy. In February 2010, Bouchaib opened a new chapter in life, remarrying, and a year later, welcomed a baby daughter with his new wife. Following the imposition of the life sentence, Genevieve filed a $3 million lawsuit against her psychiatrist. She contended that the crime could have been averted if the psychiatrist had attended to her during her distressed state. Genevieve sought acknowledgement from the psychiatrist regarding the tangible harm caused by his inaction. In the courtroom, her psychiatrist, Veldekens, claimed to have met with her after the first alarming letter, but cited being too occupied on February 13, 2007, to engage with her. Ultimately, Veldekens was absolved of any wrongdoing, with all criminal charges against him deemed irrelevant. In December 2010, Bouchaib and Shar filed a lawsuit against the director of a film inspired by this case, demanding access to the screenplay for review. The Fourth Civil Chamber of the Court of Brussels deemed the lawsuit admissible, but ultimately unfounded, which meant that the lawsuit had been accepted by the court for consideration but lacked sufficient merit or basis, in fact, to support the claims that were made. However, by this point, production was already underway, cast negotiations completed, and discussions with the French government for subsidies had taken place. The director exhibited no intention to relinquish creative control. Subsequently, the duo's attorney issued an official statement stating, "Mokaddam and Shar feel that this is a violation of their privacy and do not understand why the filmmakers have so little respect for them." Despite the legal tussle, the movie titled Our Children was released in 2012 to critical acclaim. One critic described it as a dark and profound psychological drama that portrayed the protagonist's sense of being trapped in an environment where the walls were constantly closing in around her. 16 years after the murders, on February 28, 2023, Genevieve Lhermitte's attorney confirmed that his client had been euthanized. News circulated through Belgian media outlets, reporting that she died at Leonard de Vinci Hospital in Montigny-le-Tilleul. In Belgium, euthanasia is permissible under the condition that the patient is enduring insufferable mental anguish that remains resistant to alleviation through medical interventions. As the haunting narrative of Genevieve Lhermitte reaches its emotional denouement, it's sad to picture what the children went through in their final moments, betrayed by someone they loved and fully trusted. As we reflect on this disturbing case, our thoughts and prayers extend to the victims whose lives were tragically cut short and the loved ones they left behind. If you found this video compelling, leave a like, comment your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching.